Good morning, Mike. How are you? Mike Smithson, Jungle Gym. Just noticed you taking the opportunity there of obviously famously of Property Jungle. Welcome to the show. How are you? Okay, so you put the advert up in the negotiator. You instantly got 3 deals, and of course it's been plain sailing ever since.
Yeah. I mean we've sold over 2,100 sites since
So
then.
I saw that on your site, and it takes a lot for me to be speechless, but that's incredible, isn't it? Over the years, I know you, as you said yourself, best part of 3 to 4 decades. It'll be interesting to know what those first websites look like compared to now. But I suppose that's a bit, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the things that impresses me the most about that number, I'm impressed by it, I'm staggered by it, and absolutely delighted by it. But some of the very first clients that we had back in 1997 are still with us.
That's fantastic.
So and we've built like a 10th generation website for them.
Well, look, we're all about obviously transparency, and we're all about reviews, obviously on Kerfuffle. And I know that you've got some great names backing you, and Chris Holroyd's there gave you a 5-star, obviously review. You are 5-star review. So, do you want to talk through some of the clients that you actually got on board? I think you've got some really great agents, haven't you?
Yeah. We're quite an interesting company, because I know when you and our paths have crossed over the years. In your former days, you very much aimed for the top of the pyramid, the large companies, but it's a very flat pyramid. The estate agency world. There's not very many very big companies.
Just on that, the dynamic isn't it about 60% or 65% of agents are either 1, 2, or 3 office agents? I think it's as stark as that, isn't it?
Yeah. And somewhere in the 90% of all of our clients have got just 1 or 2 branches.
Yeah.
And we get a very large proportion of startups as well come to us.
That's such an. It's obvious, isn't it? When you start up, your essentials are essentially you got choose your portals, choose your website, choose your CRM, and that really obviously gets you off and out there, doesn't it? There, so it strikes me as being one of those just kind of must-have stepping stones, really, isn't it? When you're building the business, what do we need to do? We need to get a website, and that's where obviously you've created a real niche for yourself, haven't you? But obviously a sizable niche.
Yes, no, absolutely. Excuse me, sorry. One of the things that gives me the greatest satisfaction actually is when we have the initial conversation with somebody who says, "I'm thinking of starting a business.
Yeah.
I've worked for a corporate for the last 10 years, and I want to put the money in my own pocket. Want to throw the doors open. I've only given myself 2 months. Can you help me?" And being able to deliver something that immediately gets them up and running and generating income, and them staying with us, growing, coming back 2 years later, getting the next generation of website. Because in that first 2 years, they find out who they actually are. Yeah. Everybody who starts as a business has a dream. You have a picture, but your customers eventually tell you who you are and the services that you need to provide and what wins for you. So doing the next generation and building and growing on it is really exciting for me. I really absolutely love that. And we've got some great success stories out of it.
You were talking there about how long obviously the business has been going, and how fantastically some of those companies have obviously been with you for a long period of time. How, on average, how often do they have a complete refresh of the website?
Yeah, we have some clients that replace them fairly religiously every 2 or 3 years. We obviously have some clients that get around to it once every 10 or 11 years. I mean, the reality is that the technology that goes into every site is almost redundant after 12 months. Right. It moves so fast. Yeah.
That's incredible, isn't it?
There's very little code that we deploy now that we were using 12 months ago. It may still actually functionally deliver the same or similar thing, but the code behind it and the way and the widgets and the bits that go into it evolve at an alarming rate of knots. Designs and design styles evolve at a slightly slower pace. I think that's, you kind of get 2 or 3 years out of a design style, but that's again obviously influenced by the features that you can add as well.
Yeah.
that changes the interface and the customer journey.
He's just got a question, actually. He just put a question up, but I'll let you actually. We've got him here in action. So he was just going to say, is there any other equivalent of a Facebook pixel for other platforms that can fit on your homepage, or has this not reached other platforms? David, is that something you've been looking at then yourself?
Yeah, well, I think we probably came across the Facebook pixel. I think we were working with Paul Long a couple of years ago, and it's amazing how many agents aren't still don't know about it. But tremendous amount of businesses. I mean, the property industry tends to be quite clued up when it comes to websites. But if you were to look at other industries, it's amazing when I talk to other retailers locally, none of them seem to know about the Facebook pixel. None of them seem to know that you can retarget traffic, which is, let's face it, it's warm and it's friendly because they've already come to your website initially to check you out. So nobody has stumbled across it by mistake. Everybody's come there on purpose. But so obviously Facebook enable you to, I suppose, weaponize that and to retarget those visitors. But are there other, I mean, are we missing a trick? Are there other platforms out there that do something similar?
A big shout out to James there, by the way. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Giving you a very good shout out there. Thanks for that, James.
That's another bottle of wine I owe him. David, the only other thing I'm aware of is Google. Google have a very useful remarketing thing that you can do. It works in principle exactly the same. You've been to the agent site. Next time you go to Google, you will see the agent's advert. I'm not aware. Others in my team may be aware, but I don't think there's anything specific, for example, for Twitter or any of the others,
or LinkedIn or anything else like that.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
But I mean, those are the, you know, funny enough, we're talking to the property jungle. Those are the big gorillas anyway, aren't they? I mean, they're genuinely they're so dominated that it's unsurprising that there's, you know, there probably are niche tools and indeed platforms, but for the moment, it's really, you're going to get best bang for your buck focusing on those, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's a good job we got David join us here because he loves to save money, my friend, Mr. Mintz. So, I mean, we were going to ask you next. Obviously, we spoke about a number of different ways that Property Jungle via the websites can obviously help you make money. On the flip side there, Mike, how can you help agents save money?
Excuse me, sorry, I do apologize. We focus on process improvement. That's my background, really: process analysis, process improvement, etc. Doing more things with less money. And one of the big ones at the moment, and that answers a question that Emmeline was asking: what are the best plugins for agency websites at the moment? I think one of the most important process improvements at the moment is virtual viewings with 360-degree tours and dolls houses and the interactive nature of those. We are the UK representatives of ImmoViewer, who provide a competitive product to Matterport, considerably cheaper.
James has just got a question.
That's another bottle of wine right there.
Yeah, I know. But James is actually
a case.
Yeah, James is actually a user of ImmoViewer, which he bought through us, and I think the thing that's really, I mean, obviously, notwithstanding the COVID and infection and all those sorts of implications, we've got clients that have been using it very successfully prior to the pandemic as a way of, as I said before, doing more with less.
Yeah.
These tours are a fantastic way of showing a lot of people a lot of property without anybody getting in the car, without vendors having to put the Lego in the oven. And keeping people using their time smarter. So,
and not least that, Mike, 24/7, 365 a year, isn't it? It's always there, always available, and you can't discount that out of normal office hours audience, can you? It's staggering how many people get to your site and really spend a lot of time on it at those outside of hours.
So, Mike, when you look at sort of any kind of video file, but particularly these virtual tours, the data can be quite hefty, can't it? So does that sit on a separate server with ImmoViewer in the same way that Matterport needs its own platform?
Yes, it does, yeah. I mean, the tours only work because there is software involved. So they're selling it as a software as a service solution. So you as the agent, or through a third party like Vuber, for example, who use this technology, can go out, take the photographs. It's the ImmoViewer software that then creates the tour. In other words, connecting the photographs, connecting the floor plan, connecting the doll's house all together. And they store the data. So it shows you there we go.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, that is an incredible statistic there.
Yeah. And James, who popped up earlier on, has got a couple of my absolute favourite stories of using this technology. He had a squatty in Afghanistan, wanted to live in a particular street, couldn't get back. James told him he'd got one, sent him the virtual tour. The guy went, the squatty in his barracks, went round the property, confirmed, yeah, that's the one he wants, and bought it. He's got another one which is even more, I think, astonishing and a real validation of all of this. Good old Michelle. Hello, Michelle.
Michelle is a big fan of yours.
Oh, bless her. And we're a big fan of her as well. I love her very much.
It's a mutual loving. There you are.
What James experienced with this particular couple was that on the day the viewing was supposed to happen, the wife was very ill and bedridden. So the chap went to the house, and the husband went to the house, and on his mobile phone, talking to his wife, walking around it while she was virtually walking around it at exactly the same time. So they still viewed the house together, were able to ask and get answers to all the questions that they wanted to, and then actually ended up buying the house. I think James said it was about $5,500 over the asking price he got from that. Holden Copley, one of our great success stories, who were a startup when we met them, when we first started building with them, built several generations of site for them. They're now a multi-branch business, listing hundreds of houses a month. They are huge fans of this ImmoViewer technology because it helps them win instructions. When you're sitting down with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or remotely with Mr. and Mrs. Smith now, and saying, we can display your house like this, and we can, there you go, 5,000 more from James. Yeah, you can. We can display your house like this, and we can show people around your house like this. Vendors love the fact that you're using modern technology to keep them safe, to minimize their inconvenience and disruption, but maximize the opportunity of getting buyers to complete on it. It's a technology that's absolutely come of age.
I was going to say, so James actually had another question there that ties into this as well, I think. Do you think the enthusiasm for the hybrid model is the way forwards? I'm guessing, tools like Matterport, ImmoViewer would suggest that is the way. What's your opinion on that, though? I mean, to me, it just feels like everyone's going hybrid. The online agents, which let's just say they have failed in their first iteration, are going to have to layer in more service. So they're hybridizing, if that is a word, one way. And of course, we've seen iteratively over time, traditional estate agents started to, really embrace it very positively. A lot of technology and online tools that obviously were previously just the domain of the onlines. So do you think that's a trend that's going to continue?
Yeah, there's a phrase that I use an awful lot, which is that people will buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So I don't think you can completely get rid of the high street, get rid of the agent, do it from your back bedroom or anything like that. You still have to kiss the client and deliver good service. And
or socially distancing.
Well, yes, absolutely, yeah. A remote snog, yeah. But customer service and the ability to deliver it and guide and help and support people through what is an arcane system that we've got is just so vital. I go back to the very beginning when I was describing that, we bought the brand, the Property Jungle, from a client who was trying to do a for sale by owner site.
Yeah.
Since then, we've built about a dozen for sale by owner sites. Let the punter do all of the work. Not one of them is in business today. No. We actually turn them away now because I feel embarrassed taking their money, knowing that it's just not going to work.
Yeah, but the other point is, a dozen over 40 years is not a very big demographic either, is it? Realistically,
no, it's not. No, I mean, there's a handful of them have sort of carved themselves a living, but it's still a very small percentage of all transactions are private sales.
And it strikes me really that the online agents and the for sale by owner, they're the same market realistically, aren't they? They tread on each other. It's that kind of vendor that thinks that all agents don't do anything, that will go down those routes anyway.
Well, Purple Bricks initially started by trying to not have any customer service. I've been to their head office. They have an awful lot of people there doing after-sales service and negotiating and contract chasing and all the things that everybody accuses them of not doing. They do actually do it. They may not do it very well, but they do it. But their financial footprint has had to grow significantly in order to provide more customer service. It's not going away. It will always be there.
So I think you'll probably find that the hybrid model will just compensate in terms of fees. So fees will get better because service has to get better, and the service element is what costs. Yes. And so really the customer wins again because they get the efficiencies of a hybrid model, but they're also going to be getting traditional, I suppose, enthusiasm, hands-on estate agency.
Absolutely. You need somebody who knows what's happening to explain what's happening. And that's what a good estate agent does. That's the value that they add, and to help you move. People often lose sight of what an estate agency is about. It's not about selling houses. It's about moving people.
Yeah. We've got a good estate agent with us now. Theo, like to blow a little bit of smoke with David there. David, have you got your notepad ready? Because Mike is now going to tell us the 3 key pitfalls to avoid when choosing. I assume it's when choosing a website. It's not just live. You're giving us live lessons here, right?
Well, making it up as I go along.
We've been doing that for a while.
Actually, Mike, maybe this is sort of a sub question to Simon's question. When you hit somebody's webpage, whether that be on a mobile version or it's on desktop, you only get to see a certain section of it, don't you? The first bit that hits you is the top part of it. What should people be seeing there? Is it a property search section? Is it about you? Is it reviews? What, in your opinion, is the first thing that should welcome a visitor to your website?
The next step. Short answer, the next step. So a site is designed to fulfill an objective. We talk about customer journeys and endpoints and things like that. So each site is slightly different. Each agent has slightly different motivations. The common ones are obviously to get people to see properties quickly, in the hope that you will then get some conversion of people who are anonymous surfers into people that you can do business with. So the search above the fold is a very good thing to do for those. It's the phrase you're looking for there is above the fold, the bit that you see first. Yeah. So yeah, enabling the next step. There's a phrase that we use. It's one more step. Sorry, one more click. I do apologize. One more click. That's what we're always trying to do. We want the person to engage with the site, stay on it, click one more time, and stay on, and eventually get to not eventually, as quickly as possible, get to the calls to action where they reveal who they are.
So given that I'm presuming one of your sort of main goals as a designer of websites is to make the customer experience so welcoming that they don't initially want to just run away and forget that they were using this site. A lot of agents these days, they either have pop-ups or they have a little sort of chat pop-up that comes up in the corner of the website almost immediately as soon as you hit their homepage. They're asking you if they can help you, if you need anything particular. Is that helpful or unhelpful? Do you think it's welcoming, or do you think it's likely to push people away?
Well, I as I said right at the very outset of all of this, I'm a huge fan of web chat.
Right.
I brought the very first web chat technology to the UK in 1999. So my answer has to be I'm a fan, but it has to be done correctly. I mean, the thing with web chat is doing it badly is worse than not having it at all.
Yeah, that's definitely the case.
We have it on our own website. And
do you bring that in from the get-go, or does that sort of come in after a number of
10 seconds?
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, people will. If you think about your own experience when you're viewing websites, within the first 8 seconds or so, you've probably interpreted I'm in the right place, on the right site, and I've figured out what to do next.
Yeah.
So we let you do that with us, with the, with that 10-second
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah.
In that same period of time, if it's the wrong site, you'll have gone somewhere else. So we haven't wasted the person who's manning the website's time trying to engage with you.
Okay.
I understand the question. The underlying question is, I've seen them used really badly. They can be exceptionally intrusive if they're used badly. But the worst one is where you engage with somebody and then they're clearly talking to somebody else or gone on a coffee break or something like that.
It's that balance. That it's like when you walk into a shop and somebody rushes up to you and goes, "Oh, can I help you? You're looking for something." And sometimes all you want to do is browse and be given that space. So I think you need to get that timing right.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got some interesting experiences, anecdotal evidence of all of this from previous experiences. We sold web chat when I had the NetRep business to the Woolwich, and they would do some really big adverts in the Sunday colour supplements and things for the mortgage products that they had. And they actually manned their website on Sunday evenings because the traffic spiked, because people had spent the day reading the colour supplements and the magazines, whatnot, and then they'd start browsing the website in the evening. And they then gently, proactively engaged those people with qualified own personal staff using the tool, and generated tens of thousands of pounds worth of leads, out of all of those. Worked an absolute treat. The inverse to all of that was when we, back in 1999, installed it on an agent's website, showed them how to use it, how to engage somebody on there. So you've got the negotiator with all of the product knowledge, knows all of the stock, sitting on the site. Somebody comes on, they engage them, they have a chat, and they're busy typing away, thinking, "Oh, this is going great." And then somebody walks in through the front door. You can't ignore the person that's just walked in through the front door, and you can't say, "Wait, just bear with me. I'm just going to finish my web chat with this person." So people like Moneypenny and Yomdell, who outsource that conversation, they're absolutely worth their weight in gold, because it allows the agent to do what they need to do in the office, talk to people, be in, be out, make phone calls, etc. And they act as a really good first customer kiss and then a filter.
Yeah.
So you're arriving with a good lead, and that's exactly how we use them. From time to time in our business, we do man it ourselves. Sharon will sit there and have useful conversations, but most of the time on our website, you'll be talking to somebody from Moneypenny, and they arrive with us as a qualified lead within minutes.
Yeah.
So they're really valuable tools.
What are the pitfalls are there then, Mike?
What are the pitfalls? One of the things that we find the most common mistake is made is an agent has gone with, I call him the local guy. Excuse me. This is the guy who probably does your brochures or leaflets or flyers or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's taught himself WordPress over the weekend. And then he'll come round and say, "I figured out, look, I can do something really shiny for you, and I'm only going to charge you a couple £100." Yeah. And the agent's sitting there going, "Well, I've got something shiny for only a couple £100." Agents, and I mean this in the most respectful way that I can, generally speaking, are not good at IT, and certainly not good at buying IT. They don't understand how to assess and evaluate what we call the total cost of ownership.
Yeah.
And the total cost of ownership with a very cheap site from the local guy is probably the most expensive site you're ever going to buy, because he'll get stuck. He may eventually figure out how to write a parser for example, the Repit API feed or something like that, and then the agent changes and goes to Desres, and then they've got to do it all over again, and he doesn't know how to do that, or he's left, or he's got a bigger project from somebody else, and he was only ever doing it just to make some short-term cash flow. He's not in the industry, so he's not going to develop new features and products and services that are going to help an agent.
I can totally jump on board with that. Look, I know from my experience when obviously it was a CRM in the CRM space and talking to other CRM providers, the thing that would quite often scupper a project was when that local guy dynamic came into play, and they wouldn't have a Scooby-Doo about the feed structure. Often the cost would either be beholden on us, the CRM company, to undertake to make it happen, or inevitably that local guy would go back to the the agent, and it would just be a continual upsell in terms of, oh, if I need to do this, it's XYZ amount of money. So I can see that one.
So it's a false economy at that level. But the other pain that we've seen inflicted on agents through this is the local guy, being not in the industry, doesn't understand the legislation that an agent has to comply with on their website. It's nowhere near the same as a website for the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker that the local guy has helped before. They've got a lot of things that they have to get right, and the fines are huge. And we have agents that have come back to us and said, right, I've just paid off my 3 lots of £5,000 fines to trading standards. Can you help me with a site that complies, please? So lesson number 1, the local guy, be very, very circumspect. A shiny picture doesn't tell you the total cost of ownership.
And in the chart,
number 2, templates that can't be customized.
Okay.
That's a really big problem for an awful lot of agents, or that they can be customized, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to do it. And I've had loads of people over the years say, oh, I've been told by my current web developer that it's going to cost 300 quid to change the phone number, and it'll be in 2 weeks before they can get around to doing it.
Yeah.
Something, and I would like to. So my advice to agents who are talking to a potential web supplier about buying a template is to examine in great detail what can and can't be changed, what it will cost to change it, and how quickly it can be changed. Because making changes to websites is absolutely vital. And this, I think, is a very important philosophical point to make, as well as I can tell you how we cover all of this. There are an awful lot of people who build websites that think that the end of the project is when it goes live.
Yeah.
Right, thank you very much. Here's your bill. I'm off.
Yeah.
It's not. That's day 1. That is day 1 of the website. And we have to keep making changes to it, partly to comply with legal changes, but partly to comply with feed changes, with competitive changes, the evolution of the business, opening new offices and so on. So what we build has to be built with maintenance in mind. Yeah. So we have a dedicated full-time maintenance team, a team of people who don't build websites. Their reason for being on the planet is to make changes to websites that clients want. And over the years, we've won a lot of clients because they've come to us and they said, my existing incumbent is getting in the way of me growing my business.
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we've evolved a maintenance team, as I say, and a set of maintenance processes, all with the intention of being able to allow the site to evolve rapidly at a client's pace. Every site comes with a content management system, so they can make changes themselves. But equally, some changes are harder than an agent would want to do, or they value their time differently and they just want to go out and be doing vals and viewings and all that kind of stuff, and they'd rather just use us. So there's 2 ways they can use us. We can either go on what we call a pay-as-you-go basis. So send us the request, we'll give you a quote. If you like it, we'll do the work, send you a bill. Or we've got what we call the Can You Just maintenance plan, because an awful lot of requests for small changes come in, starting with an email saying, can you just do this? Can you just do that? So we've got the Can You Just maintenance plan, and that just costs £20 a month.
Okay.
So I've got a builder that specialises in whilst you're here jobs. So you get them out for something else. You say, whilst you're here, can you just look at this? And can you just look at
yeah, exactly.
Thanks very much, Mike. I obviously know a lot more about the site, even though I've obviously known about you over the years. You're a mainstay of the industry, and I'm sure you're going to be here for many years to come. So to 4 more decades, my friend.
God. My dad will be so proud. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, okay. Thanks to everyone who's been watching. David, thank you very much. Mike,
thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
It's sung, and that's all.